The bride stood frozen outside the groom's room, her hand hovering over the doorknob. She'd come to surprise him with coffee, the way he liked it, 3 sugars, no cream. Instead, she heard his voice through the door. Low, urgent, saying words that would destroy everything. I can't keep doing this. After tomorrow, it's over. I promise. A pause. No, she doesn't know anything. She never will. The coffee cup slipped from her fingers. It hit the carpet without a sound. But to understand how she got here, how a woman so careful ended up standing outside that door with her whole world crumbling, we need to go back to where it started, 18 months earlier. Please comment right away. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached. She didn't believe in fate. At 42, she'd learned that life was what you built with careful hands and sensible choices. Romance was for people who hadn't been disappointed yet. Her name was Harper, and she ran a small bookshop on Magnolia Street, the kind with creaking floors and cats sleeping in the window displays. Every morning at 6, she opened the shop. Every evening at 8, she locked it. The routine was armor. He came in on a Tuesday, tall, with gray threading through dark hair, wearing a wool coat that had seen better days. He stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure he belonged there. Do you have anything on lighthouses? He asked. Not the question she expected. East Coast or West Coast? Any coast. All coasts. He smiled then, small, almost apologetic. I'm collecting stories about them. She led him to the back corner, to the shelves most customers never found. Maritime history, navigation, the lonely architecture of warning lights. Are you a sailor? She asked. Was. He pulled a book from the shelf, ran his fingers over the spine. Long time ago. Now, I'm just someone who misses the water. I grew up by the ocean, she said, surprising herself. She didn't usually offer personal details. Haven't been back in 20 years. Why not? The question was simple. The answer wasn't. Sometimes you leave places because you have to, and then enough time passes that you forget how to go back. He looked at her then, really looked, and she felt something shift. Not attraction. Not yet. Something quieter. Recognition. I'm Marcus, he said. Harper. He bought 3 books, left with a small wave. She thought that would be the end of it. But Marcus came back. Thursday morning, 9:30. He ordered coffee from the small counter she'd installed, her one concession to modernity, and sat in the corner chair, reading. He didn't try to talk to her, didn't interrupt her work, just existed in her space, quiet and respectful. The next Tuesday, same thing. Then Thursday again. A pattern emerged over weeks. He would come, buy coffee, read for exactly 2 hours, then leave. Sometimes he'd purchase a book. Sometimes he wouldn't. Always polite. Always contained. You know, you can just buy the books and read them at home, she finally said 3 weeks in. He looked up from his reading. I could, but then I'd be home. Something in the way he said it. Not a fan of home. It's very empty, he said simply, and very quiet. Your shop is quiet too, but it's a different kind. The kind where you're not alone. Harper understood that more than she wanted to admit. That afternoon, during the slow hours, she brought him tea without asking. He looked surprised. Touched. You don't have to. I know. They sat in comfortable silence, the autumn light slanting through the windows, dust motes dancing in the air. Why lighthouses? She asked eventually. Marcus set down his cup carefully, like he was organizing his thoughts. My daughter loved them. We used to drive up the coast every summer, visiting different ones. She'd collect postcards, draw pictures. She said they were proof that even in the dark, someone was looking out for you. Past tense. Harper noticed. She sounds wonderful. She was. His voice was steady, but she saw his hands tighten around the cup. Liver cancer. 3 years ago. She was 16. The bookshop's familiar sounds, ticking clock, creaking pipes, distant traffic, suddenly seemed too loud. I'm so sorry. Her mother, my ex-wife, she couldn't. After Lily died, we couldn't find our way back to each other. Both drowning separately. He looked at the books stacked beside him. So I come here, read about lighthouses, pretend I'm still taking her on those trips. Harper felt something crack open in her chest. I lost someone too, she heard herself say. My brother. He drowned when I was 17. We were at the beach. I looked away for just a minute. She'd never told a customer this. Never told anyone in this town. That's why you left the ocean. That's why I left everything. They sat with that for a long moment. We're quite a pair, Marcus said softly. 2 people hiding in a bookshop. Maybe that's okay, Harper replied. For now. After that, something changed. Not dramatically. Not like in movies. But Marcus started staying longer. 3 hours. 4. He'd help her shelve books without asking. Learned where everything went. Sometimes she'd turn around and he'd be repairing a loose shelf or fixing a stuck window. You don't have to do that, she'd say. I know, but I was a carpenter before. Before everything. Feels good to use my hands again. They fell into an easy rhythm. She'd handle customers while he worked quietly in the background. During slow periods, they'd talk. Small things at first. Favorite books. Worst movies. The weirdness of getting older. Then deeper things. The guilt that never quite left. The versions of themselves they'd lost. The fear that this half-life of routine and safety was all that remained. Do you ever think about trying again? Marcus asked one evening, as she was closing up. With someone? Harper paused, key in the lock. I was engaged once. Before my brother died. After, he said I changed too much. That the girl he proposed to wasn't coming back. Was he right? Yes. She turned the key. She wasn't coming back. This version was all I had left. And he couldn't love this version? He never tried to. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I think this version seems pretty remarkable. Something warm bloomed in Harper's chest. Dangerous. Hopeful. You barely know me. I know you created a place that feels like home to people who don't have one. I know you remember every customer's name. I know you leave water out for the stray cat even though it never comes inside. He smiled. I know you're the first person in 3 years who didn't treat me like I'm broken. Maybe we're both broken, Harper said quietly. Maybe that's why we fit. They started meeting outside the bookshop. Coffee on Sunday mornings. Walks through the botanical gardens. A movie at the old theater that still showed classics. Nothing rushed. Nothing forced. Just 2 people learning to be people again. One night, 6 months after they'd met, they sat on a bench overlooking the river. The city lights reflected on the water, making everything look softer than it was. I haven't felt this okay in a long time, Marcus said. Okay is good, Harper replied. Okay is better than I've been. He took her hand. She let him. They sat like that for an hour, not talking, just existing together. That night, Harper thought maybe she could do this. Maybe she could let someone in without everything falling apart. Marcus proposed on a Thursday. No grand gestures. No restaurant or beach or sunset. They were in the bookshop, naturally. He was fixing a leaking pipe under the sink. She was doing inventory. Harper! His voice from under the counter. Will you marry me? She dropped her clipboard. He emerged, covered in pipe grime, holding a small velvet box. I know it's not romantic. I know I should have planned something better, but I was under your sink thinking about how I fix things here now, and how this place feels more like home than anywhere I've lived, and how that's because you're here, and yes, he blinked. Yes, I don't need romance, Marcus. I need real. This is real. The ring was simple, a silver band with a small sapphire. It was my grandmother's, he explained, the only family heirloom I have left. Lily always said whoever I gave it to had to be someone special. Harper's eyes filled with tears. I'm not going to be a perfect wife. I'm not good at sharing space. I don't cook well. I sometimes go days without really talking. Harper. He cupped her face gently. I don't want perfect. I want you. They married 3 months later. Small ceremony. Courthouse. 2 witnesses pulled from the coffee shop next door. Harper wore a simple blue dress. Marcus wore his grandfather's suit. It was perfect because it was theirs. Or so she thought. The phone calls started 2 weeks after the wedding. Late night. Marcus would step into the other room, voice low. At first, Harper didn't think much of it. Everyone had private calls. She wasn't a suspicious person, but they became more frequent, 3 times a week, then daily, always when he thought she was asleep or in the shower or busy with customers. I can't talk right now. She'd hear through walls. No, that's not possible. We agreed to wait. One morning, she came downstairs early, found him in the kitchen, phone pressed to his ear, face drawn. He didn't hear her approach. I told you, I'm handling it. Just give me more time. After the ceremony, everything changes. He looked up, saw her. His expression shifted too quickly. False smile. Hey, sweetheart. Didn't hear you come down. Who was that? Work thing. Old client being persistent about a project. But Marcus didn't take carpentry work anymore. He'd told her the arthritis in his hands had made it impossible. At 6 a.m, different time zone. He kissed her forehead, changing the subject. Coffee. She let it go. That was her first mistake. Have you ever ignored a red flag because you wanted to believe everything was fine? Comment below. The strange behavior multiplied. Money disappeared from their joint account. Not much. 500 here, 300 there, but consistent. When Harper asked, Marcus had explanations. Car repairs, emergency dental work, new tools, all reasonable, all impossible to verify. Then came the texts. His phone would light up at odd hours. He'd silence it quickly, but not before Harper saw, we need to talk about this. You can't keep putting it off. From a number with no name attached. Marcus, who keeps texting you. Spam. You know how it is. But Spam didn't text at midnight saying, this isn't fair to anyone. Harper felt something cold settling into her stomach. The old familiar dread. She'd trusted before. Been wrong before. Are you okay? She asked one night, trying a different approach. You seem stressed. Distracted. I'm fine. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Just, there's something I need to take care of. After the vow renewal. The vow renewal. That had been Marcus's idea. A proper ceremony, since they'd done the courthouse wedding so quickly. He'd been insistent about it. At the time, Harper thought it was sweet. Now she wondered. The vow renewal was set for Saturday. Small gathering. The bookshop decorated simply. 20 guests. Friday night. They stayed at the hotel where they'd planned the reception. Separate rooms. Marcus said it was traditional that they should spend the night before apart. Harper couldn't sleep. At 11, she decided to check on him. Bring coffee as a peace offering. Maybe they'd talk. Really talk. She took the elevator to his floor. The hallway was empty, carpeted in burgundy, dimly lit. Room 412. She raised her hand to knock, then heard his voice through the door. I can't keep doing this. Harper froze. After tomorrow, it's over. I promise. Pause. No, she doesn't know anything. She never will. Another pause. Longer. Yes, I've been taking care of the payments. It's almost enough. Payment. Payments for what? I know it's been hard on you. This hasn't been easy for me either. But after tomorrow, after the ceremony, I'll have everything I need. Harper's hand dropped to her side. Everything he needed. The money disappearing. The secret calls. The insistence on this vow renewal. She backed away from the door slowly, her heart hammering so loud she was sure he'd hear it. Back in her room, she sat on the bed, shaking. Think. What did she actually know? Marcus had no family, no friends he ever mentioned, no life outside what they'd built together. He'd come from nowhere 18 months ago. She'd never met anyone from his past, never seen pictures of his daughter beyond the one worn photo in his wallet. What if it was all a lie? What if she was the mark in some elaborate con? Woman with a business, trusting, lonely, perfect target. Her phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Thank you for giving me a reason to believe in second chances. She stared at the message. Either he was a sociopath or what? What possible explanation made this okay? What would you do? Run? Confront him? Pretend everything's fine until you know more? Drop your answer in the comments. Harper didn't sleep. She sat in the dark, watching the city lights through the window, trying to solve a puzzle with pieces that didn't fit. By dawn, she'd made her decision. She would go through with the ceremony. Act normal. Let Marcus think his plan, whatever it was working. And at the last possible moment, she'd confront him publicly. If he was going to humiliate her, she'd at least take away his element of surprise. The bookshop looked beautiful. White flowers wound around the bookshelves. Candles flickered on every surface. The afternoon light poured through the windows like liquid gold. Harper's assistant, Carol, had done an amazing job. You look pale, Carol said, adjusting Harper's dress. Bride nerves? Something like that. Marcus is a good man. Best thing that ever happened to you, if you ask me. Harper said nothing. She looked at herself in the mirror. The dress was cream-colored, simple, elegant. She looked like a bride. She felt like a fool. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. We need to talk before the ceremony. It's important. Please. Her hands shook. She typed back. Who is this? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Someone who cares about Marcus. Please. Coffee shop across the street. You have time. Harper looked at the clock. 40 minutes until the ceremony. Against every instinct screaming at her to run, she grabbed her coat. The coffee shop was nearly empty. A woman sat in the corner booth. Mid-30s, dark hair, tired eyes. She looked up when Harper entered. Thank you for coming, she said. I wasn't sure you would. Who are you? The woman gestured to the seat across from her. My name is Rachel. I'm Marcus's sister. The world tilted. Marcus doesn't have a sister. He told you that? Rachel's smile was sad. I suppose I understand why. Harper sat slowly, her mind racing. What do you want? To explain. Before you marry him under false pretenses. Rachel pulled out her phone, showed Harper a picture. Young Marcus, maybe 25, with his arm around a teenage girl. Same dark hair. Same smile. That's Lily, Rachel said. His daughter. My niece. She's real? Of course she's real. She died exactly like he told you. Liver cancer. 16 years old. Rachel's voice cracked. It destroyed our whole family. But the phone calls are to me. Rachel took a breath. Marcus has been calling me because I'm sick too. Same disease that killed Lily. Genetic. Harper felt her entire reality shifting. He's been sending you money. For treatment. Experimental therapy in another state. It's expensive, and I don't have insurance. Marcus has been selling everything he owns, piece by piece, to pay for it. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. He didn't want you to know, because he thought you'd feel obligated to help, and he didn't want to burden you with his family problems. Not after you've been through so much. But why the secrecy? Why not just tell me? Because you would have helped. Of course you would have. And Marcus couldn't stand the idea of you paying for his family's curse. Rachel wiped her eyes. He sold his truck last month. His tools. His grandfather's pocket watch. Everything he had from his old life. Harper's mind reeled. The vow renewal. He wanted to give you something beautiful before he asks for your help. He's been too proud, too stupid, but time's running out. The treatment needs to start next month, or... Rachel didn't finish. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm tired of watching my brother suffer alone. And because you deserve to know who you're marrying. Not the man who's pretending to be fine. The real one. The one who's terrified and desperate and too proud to ask for help. Rachel stood. He's a good man, Harper. The best I know. He loved his daughter more than life. He's trying to save me the same way. But he's drowning. She put a hand on Harper's shoulder. Don't let him drown alone. Then she left. Harper sat in the empty coffee shop, her carefully constructed anger crumbling into something more complex. Hurt that he hadn't trusted her. Relief that he wasn't a con man. Anger that he'd carried this alone. Love, fierce, protective love for this broken man who was trying to save everyone but himself. Harper walked back to the bookshop in a daze. The guests were arriving. Music played softly. Everything was ready. Carol rushed over. Where were you? We've got 10 minutes. I need to see Marcus. Now, before we start. But tradition. Now, Carol. Marcus was in the back office, adjusting his tie. He looked nervous, hopeful. When Harper entered, he smiled. You look. I met your sister. The color drained from his face. Harper, I can explain. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice broke. Why didn't you trust me? Marcus sat heavily on the desk edge. Because I couldn't. His voice was rough. Because watching Lily die nearly killed me. And the idea of watching Rachel. I can't. Harper. I can't lose her too. So you lied. I didn't lie. I didn't tell you everything. He looked up at her, eyes red. You'd already lost so much. I couldn't pile my family's curse onto you two. That wasn't your choice to make. I know. He stood, but didn't approach. I know, and I'm sorry. I was going to tell you tonight. After the ceremony, I was going to ask. God, I was going to ask if you'd help me sell the bookshop. Harper's heart stopped. What? It's the only asset with real value. The treatment costs $200,000. I've saved $73,000. The shop could get us the rest. I was going to ask if maybe we could start over somewhere smaller. Together. If you'd help me save my sister. He was crying now. This strong man who'd held himself together through everything. I love you, he said. I love you so much it terrifies me. But I love Rachel too. She's all I have left of my family. All I have left of Lily. And I don't know how to save her without losing you. Harper crossed the room. Took his hands. You're an idiot. He blinked. You're a beautiful, selfless, stubborn idiot who doesn't understand the first thing about marriage. Harper, we're not selling the bookshop. We're taking out a loan against it. The business is solid. The bank will approve it. She gripped his hands tighter. And you're going to learn to let me help you carry things. Because that's what partners do. They don't drown alone. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling. She cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. I'm telling you that we're going to save your sister. Together. I'm telling you that you don't get to protect me from your pain anymore. I'm telling you that this is what love looks like, messy and complicated, and sometimes terrifying. Marcus pulled her into his arms, holding on like she was the only solid thing in the world. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. They stood like that, holding each other. Two people who'd lost everything learning to build something new. A knock at the door. Carol's voice. Guys? Everyone's waiting. Harper pulled back, wiping her eyes. Ready to get married? For real this time. Marcus smiled, his first real smile in months. I've been ready since the moment you gave me tea, without asking. The ceremony was simple. Harper and Marcus stood among the bookshelves, surrounded by people they'd slowly let into their lives. The officiant, an old friend of Carol's, began. But when it came time for vows, Marcus stopped him. Can I say something first? The officiant nodded. Marcus turned to face the small crowd. Most of you know I'm a private person. I don't share much. Don't talk about my past. He took a breath. But you should know why I'm standing here today. Harper's hand tightened on his. 3 years ago, I lost my daughter. Her name was Lily, and she was the best thing I ever did with my life. When she died, I stopped believing in second chances. Stopped believing in much of anything. The room was silent. Then I walked into this bookshop looking for lighthouse books because they reminded me of her. And I met someone who understood what it meant to carry loss. Someone who didn't try to fix me or cheer me up. Someone who just sat with me in the quiet. He looked at Harper. I haven't been completely honest with you all. With Harper, I've been trying to handle something difficult alone because I was scared. Scared of being a burden. Scared of losing someone else I love. Marcus's voice strengthened. But Harper taught me something today. She taught me that love isn't about protecting each other from pain. It's about facing it together, not drowning alone. He took both of Harper's hands. So these are my vows. I promise to let you help carry the heavy things. I promise to trust you with my worst days, not just my best ones. I promise to remember that we're building something together. And that means sharing everything, the beautiful parts and the broken parts. Harper was crying. I promise to love you, not despite your scars, but because they're proof you survived, because they make you who you are, because they match mine. He smiled through his own tears. And I promise to never, ever fix a leaking pipe again without telling you what I'm really worried about. Laughter rippled through the room. Harper wiped her eyes, composing herself. My vows, she began, are simpler. I promise to keep showing up, to keep creating space where you can be real, to remember that love is built in small moments, in morning coffee and fixed shelves and quiet afternoons. She looked at the bookshop around them. I promise to fight for us, to fight for your family, to understand that your pain is now my pain and mine is yours, and that's not a burden, it's what makes us whole. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. I spent 20 years running from the ocean because I was afraid of what I'd lost there. You taught me that you can't run forever. Eventually you have to turn around and face what scares you. She squeezed his hands. So I promise to stop running. To build something permanent, to believe in lighthouse, in the idea that even in the dark, someone's looking out for you. I promise to be that someone for you. Always. The officiant cleared his throat, emotional. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you still husband and wife. They kissed, and it felt like the beginning of something true. The bookshop had a new sign. Harper and Marcus, books and coffee. Small change, big meaning. Inside, Marcus worked behind the counter, learning to make proper lattes. His hands shook sometimes, the arthritis, but he was patient with himself. Harper was in the back, unpacking a shipment of new releases. The loan had come through. 3 weeks of paperwork, but they'd gotten it. Rachel started treatment 2 months ago. It was brutal. Chemo always was. But she was responding. Slowly, cautiously. The doctors were optimistic. She'd moved into their spare room. Temporary, she insisted, though Harper had already cleared out space for permanent. The three of them had dinner together every night. Simple meals. Complicated conversation. Learning to be a family. You know what's weird? Rachel said one evening, pushing food around her plate. What? Marcus asked. I spent so long being angry that I got sick like Lily. Like it was some cosmic joke. She looked at Harper. But if I hadn't gotten sick, you two wouldn't have had that fight. Marcus would have kept everything bottled up. Your marriage might have fallen apart over secrets. Harper reached across the table, took her hand. I'm still angry you're sick, but I'm grateful you exist. Me too, Marcus added quietly. Both things can be true. Rachel smiled. Yeah, both things can be true. The bookshop thrived in unexpected ways. Word spread about the couple who'd opened their business and their lives to help family. People started coming not just for books, but for the feeling of the place. The feeling that broken things could be repaired. That love was more than romance. It was showing up day after day, even when it was hard. Marcus started a small workshop in the basement, taught basic carpentry to kids from the community center. His hands still hurt, but he worked through it. My daughter never got to see me do this, he told Harper one night. Teach something I love. Maybe this is how I keep her alive. Pass it forward. Harper added a section to the bookshop. Lighthouse books featured prominently, with a small photo of Lily beside them and a placard in memory of a girl who loved the light. Parents would bring their children, point to the picture, tell them about how lighthouses kept ships safe. Lily's story became part of the bookshop's story, part of their story. 8 months after the vow renewal, on a Saturday morning, Marcus made a suggestion. Let's close the shop for the weekend. Harper looked up from inventory. What? Close it. Carol can handle emergencies. Rachel's feeling strong enough to be alone for 2 days. He smiled. Let's go somewhere. Where? The coast. Harper's breath caught. She hadn't been back to the ocean in 23 years. Marcus, I don't know if I can. I'll be with you. He took her hands. The whole time. We don't have to stay long. But I think maybe it's time. That afternoon, they drove north. The highway wound along the coastline, gray water stretching to the horizon. Harper's hands gripped the door handle. You okay? Marcus asked. No, but keep driving. They stopped at a small town, the kind with one main street, and a diner called the Crab Shack. Booked a room at the inn overlooking the water. That evening, they walked down to the beach. The sand was cold, the wind sharp. The waves crashed with the same rhythm Harper remembered from childhood. She stood at the edge where water met land. I haven't been on a beach since the day David drowned, she said. I watched him go under. Screamed for help. By the time someone reached him, Marcus stood beside her, silent. I blamed myself for 23 years. Thought if I'd just watched closer. Held on tighter. Been a better sister. Harper. I know it wasn't my fault. Logically, I know. But knowing and feeling are different things. She looked at the water. I've been so angry at the ocean. At myself, at God or fate, or whatever decides these things. She picked up a handful of sand, let it slip through her fingers. But standing here now, with you, I realize something. The ocean didn't take David to hurt me. It just happened. Terrible, random, unfair, but not personal. The waves rolled in. And if I spend the rest of my life hating the water, David still doesn't come back. I'm just alone with my anger. She turned to Marcus. You taught me that you can miss someone and still live. That love doesn't end with death. It just changes shape. Marcus pulled her close. They stood like that as the sun set, two people holding each other against the cold, learning that healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about making peace with what you couldn't change. 1 year after the vow renewal, Harper woke to the smell of coffee. Real coffee, not the bookshop blend. The fancy kind Marcus ordered from a roaster in Seattle. She found him in the kitchen, 2 mugs already poured. Special occasion, she asked. Rachel got her test results yesterday. His voice was carefully neutral. Harper's heart ceased, and Marcus turned, and his face broke into the widest smile she'd ever seen. Clear. Completely clear. The doctors say if it stays this way for another 6 months, she's officially in remission. Harper's knees went weak. They'd been living with cautious hope for so long. Every scan, every test, holding their breath, waiting for bad news. She's going to be okay, Harper whispered. She's going to be okay. They held each other in the kitchen, crying tears of relief and joy and exhaustion. All those months of treatment, of sitting in waiting rooms, of Rachel being sick and brave and terrified. It had worked. We should celebrate, Harper said. Do something special. Marcus pulled back, wiping his eyes. Actually, Rachel and I were talking. She wants to take a trip. Where? Up the coast. To visit lighthouses. He smiled. She said Lily would have wanted her to see them. To finish the journey they never got to complete. That's beautiful. She wants you to come too. Says your family now. He paused. I know it means closing the shop for a week. We'll close it, Harper said immediately. Carol's been wanting more responsibility anyway. You're sure? I'm sure. Harper took his hand. Some things are more important than routine. They left on a Tuesday morning. 3 people in a rented sedan, heading north along the Pacific coast. Rachel sat in the back, wearing a scarf over her growing back hair. She looked tired but alive. So wonderfully alive. First stop is Point Reyes, she announced, consulting the map she'd printed. Lily had it marked with 3 stars. 3 stars means excellent view, Marcus explained to Harper. Lily had a whole rating system. They drove with the windows down, salt air filling the car. At each lighthouse they stopped, took pictures, read the historical plaques. Rachel bought postcards, just like Lily used to. At the 3rd lighthouse, a red and white striped tower on a cliff, Rachel stood at the railing, looking out at the ocean. Can I tell you something weird? She asked. Harper and Marcus joined her. When I was going through treatment, there were days I wanted to give up. Days when the pain was so bad. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm done fighting. The wind whipped around them. But then I'd think about you too. About how hard you fought to save me. How Marcus sold everything he owned. How Harper welcomed a stranger into her home. Rachel's voice cracked. And I thought, if they believe I'm worth saving, maybe I should believe it too. She turned to face them. You didn't just pay for treatment. You gave me a reason to survive it. Harper hugged her tight. You're not a stranger. You're my sister now. The 3 of them stood on that cliff, watching the waves crash below, and Harper realized something. Family wasn't just blood. It was the people who showed up, who stayed through the hard parts, who fought for you when you couldn't fight for yourself. They spent a week visiting lighthouses up the coast, each one different, each one beautiful in its own way. In the evenings, they'd find small inns or motels, order takeout, sit on balconies watching the sunset. Rachel would read from Lily's old journal, the one where she documented every lighthouse visit. Pigeon Point Lighthouse, age 8. Rachel read, "This one is the tallest. Dad says it's been warning ships for over 100 years. I asked him if lighthouses ever get tired of watching. He said no, because keeping people safe never gets old." Marcus's eyes were wet. She was so wise for a kid. "She got it from you," Rachel said softly. "No." Marcus looked at Harper. "She got the wisdom. I'm just learning it now. Learning that asking for help isn't weakness. That letting people in isn't dangerous. That family means carrying each other." He took both their hands. "Thank you, both of you, for teaching me what I should have known all along." The last lighthouse on their journey was the farthest north, Cape Mendocino, perched on a remote cliff, accessible only by a winding trail. Lily gave this one 5 stars. Rachel said she called it the lighthouse at the end of the world. They hiked up in the late afternoon, the path steep and challenging. Rachel was slower now, still recovering her strength, but she insisted on making the climb. "I didn't survive cancer to take the easy route," she said. At the top, the lighthouse stood white against the darkening sky. The beam wasn't automated yet. This was one of the few that still had a keeper. An old man emerged from the building, surprised to see visitors. "We're closing soon," he said. "Storm's coming in." "We know," Marcus replied. "But my daughter loved this lighthouse. She died before she could see it in person. Her aunt's here now, finishing the journey for her." The keeper's expression softened. "Come on, then. I'll give you the full tour." He led them up the spiral stairs, telling stories about ships saved and storms weathered. At the top, in the lamp room, the massive lens glowed in the fading light. "This light can be seen for 20 miles, the keeper said. On a clear night, ships use it to navigate all the way down from Oregon." Rachel pressed her hand to the glass, looking out at the darkening ocean. Lily was right. You can see the end of the world from here. "Or the beginning," Harper said quietly. "Depends on which direction you're looking." Rachel smiled, pulled out her phone, and took a picture. "For Lily, so she knows we made it." They stayed until the storm rolled in, massive clouds darkening the horizon, rain beginning to fall. The keeper turned on the light, and suddenly the lamp room blazed with brilliance. The beams swept across the water, steady and strong. "Warning, guiding, watching. That's what you two are," Rachel said, watching the light. "My lighthouse. When everything was dark and I was lost at sea, you kept the light on." Marcus put his arm around his sister. Harper took Rachel's other hand. They stood in that tower of light. 3 people who'd found each other through loss and learned to hold on through the storm. When they returned to the bookshop, something had shifted. Not in the space itself. Carol had kept everything running perfectly. But in the people who'd left and come back, they were lighter, freer, like they'd set something heavy down on that northern cliff and didn't need to pick it up again. "I've been thinking," Rachel said one evening as they closed up the shop, "about what comes next." "What do you mean?" Harper asked. "I can't live with you forever. You two need your space, your life together." "Rachel, let me finish." She smiled. "I want to get my own place. Nothing fancy. Maybe one of those apartments above the bakery. Close enough to visit. Far enough to give you privacy. You don't have to." "I want to. I need to." Rachel looked around the bookshop. "You two saved my life. But I can't build my new life in your spare room. I need to figure out who I am now, who I want to be." Marcus hugged her. "You'll always have a key to this place. Always have a seat at our table." "I know. That's what makes it safe to leave." 2 weeks later, they helped Rachel move into her new apartment. Small place. 1 bedroom. Windows overlooking Main Street. She furnished it simply. Put up photos. Some of Lily, some of their lighthouse trip, some of Harper and Marcus. My family wall, she explained. Everyone I love in one place. That night, Harper and Marcus returned to their own home, quieter now, but not empty. It's strange, Harper said. Having the space back. Good strange or bad strange? Both. She settled against him on the couch. I got used to her being here, but I also missed having you to myself. Marcus kissed the top of her head. We did something remarkable. You know, what's that? We saved someone. Not just physically, but really saved her. Gave her a reason to fight. A family to come back to. Harper thought about that. She saved us too. Made us face things we'd been hiding from. Made us learn to ask for help. Yeah. Marcus smiled. She did. The bookshop's 2nd anniversary arrived on a crisp autumn morning. Harper opened early, like always, but something was different. Someone was waiting outside. A young woman, maybe early 20s, holding a backpack. Are you Harper? She asked. I am. Can I help you? The woman hesitated. My name is Emma. I've been looking for a place like this. A friend told me about your shop. Said it was special. Well, come in. Coffee's fresh. Inside, Emma looked around with wonder. The books. The warm lighting. The sense of sanctuary. What kind of books do you like? Harper asked. I don't know anymore. Emma's voice was small. I used to read all the time. But then my mom died last year, and I can't seem to focus on anything. Harper's heart recognized the story. I'm sorry for your loss. Everyone says that, but no one knows how to be around me now. Like grief is contagious. Emma wiped her eyes. Sorry, you don't need to hear this. Actually, Harper said gently, I think I do. She made 2 cups of coffee, led Emma to the corner chairs, the same chairs where Marcus first sat 2 years ago. My brother drowned when I was 17, Harper began. For 23 years, I ran from anything that reminded me of him. Built walls, kept people out. Emma looked up, really listening. Then someone walked into this shop looking for lighthouse books. He'd lost his daughter, was drowning in his own grief. And somehow we found each other in the quiet. Did it get easier? Emma asked. The grief? No, but I learned to carry it differently. Learned that you don't have to carry it alone. Harper pulled a book from the nearby shelf, a collection of essays about loss and healing. Start with this. Come back when you're done. We'll talk about it, and maybe you'll find some other books that speak to you. I don't have much money. First book's on the house. Come back as often as you want. Sit in that corner. Read. Exist. That's enough. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Why are you being so kind? Because someone was kind to me when I needed it most. Harper smiled. And because that's what this place is for. Not just selling books. Creating space for people who need somewhere to land. Over the following weeks, Emma became a regular. Like Marcus before her, she'd come in, buy coffee, sit in the corner. Sometimes she'd read. Sometimes she'd just stare out the window. Harper never pushed, never demanded conversation. Just let Emma exist in the safety of the bookshop. Slowly, the young woman began to heal, started talking more, smiling occasionally. One day, she asked, Do you have any books about lighthouses? Harper's heart swelled. I have a whole section. Rachel met someone. His name was David, coincidentally the same as Harper's brother. A teacher at the community center where Rachel had started volunteering. They bonded over books, coffee, and the shared experience of surviving things that should have broken them. He'd lost his wife to addiction, had 2 kids. was rebuilding his life one day at a time. When Rachel brought him to Sunday dinner, Harper and Marcus exchanged knowing looks. "Don't say it," Rachel warned. "Say what?" Marcus asked innocently. "That you saw this coming. That you knew I'd find someone. That love finds you when you're ready." "We weren't going to say any of that," Harper lied. Rachel laughed. "You're terrible liars." David fit naturally into their family dinners. His kids, 7 and 9, adored the bookshop. 6 months later, David proposed. Simple, sweet, at the same lighthouse where they'd taken their first date. The wedding was set for spring. Rachel asked Harper to be her maid of honor. "You're my sister," she said, "not by blood but by choice, by showing up, by everything that matters." Harper cried. "I'd be honored." The ceremony was at the bookshop, naturally, among the shelves where so many stories had been written. Rachel wore cream, a nod to Harper's own dress. David wore his best suit, his kids standing beside him as best man and best woman. When it came time for vows, Rachel's voice was strong. "I didn't think I'd get to have this. A future, a partner, a family." She looked at David. "When I was sick, when I thought I might die, I made a promise to myself. If I survived, I would live fully. I would let people in. I would choose love over fear." She glanced at Harper and Marcus. "These two taught me that, showed me that asking for help is brave. That family is built, not born. That love means showing up, especially when it's hard." Back to David. "So I promised to show up for you, for your children, to build something beautiful on the foundation of everything we've survived." David's vows were simpler. "I promise to remember that we get second chances. That loss doesn't mean the story's over. That sometimes the best chapters come after the hardest ones." They kissed. Everyone cheered. And Harper thought about how strange and beautiful life was. How you could lose everything and still find something new. How the people you saved could save you right back. 5 years after Marcus first walked into the bookshop, Harper stood at the counter, watching the afternoon light slant through the windows. The shop had grown. They'd expanded into the space next door, added more seating, hired 3 part-time staff. But the essence remained the same. A sanctuary, a place for lost people to land. Marcus was in the back, teaching a carpentry class to teenagers. Rachel stopped by most afternoons with her stepkids, who'd claimed a corner of the children's section as their personal reading fort. Emma, now a graduate student, worked part-time at the shop while finishing her degree in social work. "I want to help people the way this place helped me," she'd explained when asking for the job. The bell above the door chimed. A man walked in, mid-50s, lost expression, looking around like he wasn't sure he belonged. Harper recognized that look. She'd seen it in Marcus 5 years ago, in Emma, in dozens of others who'd found their way here. "Can I help you find something?" she asked. "I'm not sure," the man said. I don't really know what I'm looking for." Harper smiled gently. "That's okay. Most of the best discoveries happen when we're not sure what we're searching for. Can I make you some coffee?" Yes, thank you." She made 2 cups, led him to the corner chairs. "I'm Harper. I own this place. Robert." He took the coffee, gratefully. "This is a nice shop. Peaceful. That's the idea. A place where people can just be." Robert was quiet for a moment. "My wife died 6 months ago. Cancer. Our kids keep telling me to get out more, try new things. But I don't know how to exist in the world without her." Harper's heart ached with recognition. "I lost my brother young. Spent decades running from the grief. Then I met someone who'd lost his daughter. We didn't fix each other, but we learned to sit with the pain together, made it bearable." She gestured around the shop. This place became our healing space. And then it became that for others too. Does it get easier? Robert asked. No, Harper said honestly. But you learn to carry it differently. And you find people who help you carry it. She pulled a familiar book from the shelf, the same one she'd given Emma years ago. Start with this. Come back when you're done. We'll talk. I don't. First book's free. And you're always welcome here. Just sit. Read. Exist. That's enough. Robert's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. That evening, after closing, Harper and Marcus sat in the same corner where they'd first talked. Another lost soul, Marcus observed. Aren't we all? Harper leaned against him. Just some of us have found our way a little more than others. Do you ever think about that first day? When I asked about lighthouses, every time someone new walks in looking lost, she smiled. I think about how close I came to staying closed off forever, to never letting you in. What changed your mind? You asked about lighthouses. Such a specific, lonely question. I recognized the loneliness in it. Marcus kissed her temple. Best decision I ever made. Walking into this shop. Second best. Harper corrected. First was asking me to help save Rachel. That wasn't a decision. That was desperation. Same thing sometimes. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the evening light fade. You know what I love about this place? Marcus said, eventually. What? It's a lighthouse. That's what we built. A place that keeps the light on for people who are lost at sea. Harper thought about that. Thought about Robert, who'd just walked in drowning in grief. Emma, who'd found purpose here after losing her mother. Rachel, who'd survived because they'd given her a reason to fight. All the quiet souls who'd found sanctuary among these shelves. I like that, she said. We're lighthouse keepers. Lily would have loved that. I think she knows. 10 years after Marcus walked into Harper's bookshop, they stood together on the cliff at Cape Mendocino. The same lighthouse where they'd finished the journey with Rachel. But this time, they weren't alone. Rachel and David were there, their kids now teenagers. Emma, married now with a baby on the way. Robert, who'd become a regular fixture at the shop, and eventually started his own grief support group there. A dozen others, people who'd found healing in the bookshop and become family. They'd come to scatter ashes, not of someone who died, but of old grief, old pain, old versions of themselves they'd finally let go. It was Rachel's idea. We've all been carrying these heavy things, she'd said. What if we released them together? Made it official? So they'd each written down what they were ready to release. The guilt, the anger, the fear, the weight of might-have-beens. Now, they stood on the cliff, the lighthouse beam sweeping overhead, the ocean crashing below. Harper read first. I released the belief that I could have saved my brother. I released the anger at the ocean. I released the version of myself that thought safety meant shutting everyone out. She opened her hand. The paper caught the wind, disappeared into the sky. Marcus went next. I released the guilt of surviving when Lily didn't. I released the fear that asking for help makes me weak. I released the idea that I have to carry everything alone. His paper joined Harper's, dancing on the wind. One by one, they all spoke, released their burdens to the sea and sky. When everyone had finished, they stood in silence. The wind whipped around them. The lighthouse beam swept steadily on. You know what's beautiful about lighthouses? Rachel said, breaking the silence. What? Her stepson asked. They don't judge the ships that pass. Don't ask why they're lost or how they got that way. They just keep the light on. Every night. Every storm. Constant. She looked at Harper and Marcus. That's what you two taught me. That love isn't about fixing people. It's about keeping the light on while they find their way. Harper felt tears streaming down her face. "We learned it from you," she said, "from fighting so hard to live, from showing us that asking for help is brave. We learned it from each other," Marcus added. "All of us. That's how healing works. We hold each other up until everyone can stand." Emma stepped forward, holding her pregnant belly. "I want to name my daughter Lily," she said quietly. "If that's okay." After the girl who loved lighthouses, who started all of this. Marcus couldn't speak, just nodded, tears flowing freely. "She would have loved that," Rachel whispered. They stayed on that cliff until sunset, watching the light sweep across the darkening water. A beacon, a promise, a reminder that even in the deepest dark, someone is watching. Someone is keeping the light on. Someone is saying, "You're not alone." Back at the bookshop, late evening, everyone had gone home. Harper and Marcus sat in their corner, the chairs worn now, familiar. 10 years, Harper said. "Can you believe it?" "Some days, yes. Some days, it feels like I just walked in yesterday, looking for lighthouse books. Best day of my life." She smiled. "Well, tied with a few others. The day Rachel went into remission. The day we scattered the ashes. Every day in between." Marcus took her hand. "Do you ever regret it? Taking on all these broken people, turning our business into a sanctuary." Harper thought about Robert, who now ran grief groups every Thursday, about Emma, about to become a mother, who'd found her calling helping others, about Rachel, alive and thriving, building her own family, about the hundreds of others who'd found healing in this space. "Never," she said firmly. "This is what we were meant to do. Be lighthouse keepers for lost souls. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." The bell above the door chimed. Strange, since they'd locked it. A teenage girl stood in the doorway, looking uncertain. "I'm sorry we're closed," Harper started to say. "I know, but can I just sit for a minute? I saw the lights on. My parents are fighting again, and I need somewhere quiet." Harper and Marcus exchanged a look. "Come in," Harper said gently. "I'll make you some tea." The girls sat in the corner chair, the same chair where Marcus had first sat, where Emma had cried about her mother, where Robert had admitted he didn't know how to exist without his wife. The chair of beginnings. Harper brought tea, didn't ask questions, just sat with her, in the quiet. After a while, the girl spoke. "This place feels safe. That's the idea. Do you have any books about people who feel lost, who don't know how to find their way?" Harper smiled. "I have a whole section." She stood, moved to the shelves, pulled a familiar book. The same one she'd given Emma, the one about loss and healing and finding light in darkness. "Start with this. Come back when you're done. We'll talk." "How much?" "First book's free, and you're always welcome here." The girl looked at the book, then at Harper, eyes glistening. "Thank you." After she left, Marcus came to stand beside Harper at the window. They watched the girl walk down the street, book clutched to her chest. "And so it continues," he said. "The light remains," Harper replied. They stood there, two people who'd found each other in grief and built something beautiful from the broken pieces. A lighthouse in the form of a bookshop, a place where lost souls could find their way, a reminder that healing is possible, that love persists, that even in the darkest night, someone is keeping the light on. Always. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about passion or romance. They're about two broken people who decide to heal together, about choosing to keep the light on, even when darkness seems endless, about building sanctuary for others from the ruins of your own pain. Harper and Marcus didn't get a fairy tale ending. They got something better, a real one, where healing is slow and hard and requires showing up every single day, where love means carrying each other through the storms. where family is built from choice and commitment, not just blood, and where every person who walks through the door carrying grief gets the same message. You're not alone. The light remains. We'll keep it burning until you find your way home. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear that healing is possible. Drop a comment telling us what moment hit you hardest. And remember, you're not alone. The light remains. Always. The end.